Did you know that there are spirit guides all around us, that ones you might not be necessarily thinking about? Animals. Animals offer us an amazing way to connect to the spirit world. Have you ever wondered how spirit animals actually are a beautiful tool into helping us connect to the spirit realm and giving us messages that we need to hear? When you think about how animals in shamanic medicine act as a powerful tool of guidance to help that person uncover their own spiritual medicine, maybe they need to embody the wolf, connect to the rabbit, and let go of their fears, and so forth. This beautiful awareness of knowing that all around you right now are animal totems and animal visitors and animal spirits that can help you personally connect not only to yourself, but offer intuitive guidance and wisdom for yourselves. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you know how to connect to an animal totem or an animal visitor? Let's dive in to just that. Hey guys, it is Ashley from the AwakenState.net. Now, today's episode is brought to you by the fact that in Meditation Lab, we have an important meditation path working that helps you personally connect to your animal totem. And after doing this meditation, which was a ton of fun to create for the record, anyway, regardless, one thing that is really powerful when it comes to looking at animal totems is learning how much that they give us spiritual wisdom and guidance. This was kind of something that I learned a long time ago, but I kind of it just fell by the wayside over the years. And I wanted to kind of really bring in the focus of what I've learned since connecting to our animal totems and realizing that animal visitors can give us so much value into intuitive wisdom and guidance we necessarily might need. So for example, one thing that is really one of the reasons why this came up for me is I got this beautiful deck called Spirit Allies. And this deck in particular is really powerful. It's more of an indie deck, and it talks a lot about you have spiritual allies with you at all times. And they come in different forms, such as herbs, plant medicine, animals, zodiac, and so forth, and crystals, and all sorts of different ways that you can connect to spirit allies that help you connect to the spiritual world. And now when we look at animals, I think it's so beautiful. We have these beautiful cards here of wolf, and then we have raven and white buffalo, which is a really interesting omen, frog, and so forth. Oh, I like this one. Bat. We have bat. And, dragon for my House of Dragon fans. And my personal favorite, Black Panther. Now, when it comes to looking at animal totems, if you aren't familiar with this concept, this is a very interesting way where you can start to connect to a particular animal and receive intuitive guidance. Now, one of the ways that I've learned how to connect with animal totems and animal visitors is the way that I've seen it is you have one core totem, and this is like the totem that connects to your personality. And then you have animal visitors. And the difference between these two concepts is the animal totem is more like your guiding foundation, and the animal visitor is more like, hey, this is a spirit guide helping guide you on the path. So for example, maybe you have a bunch of butterflies that show up out of nowhere, signaling that you were in a time of rebirth and transformation and a time where you're experiencing a lot of rapid change. Now, at the same time, your animal totem is something totally different. It's a wolf. Now, that is wildly two different conversations here. We have embodying the wolf, and then we also have the recognition of, okay, I'm being visited by tons and tons of butterflies. What is spirit trying to show me? So you can see that there's two different conversations here of finding your personal animal totem and most importantly, connecting to an animal visitor. One story I'd love to share is a lot of the times I notice when I'm getting ready to go through a huge period of transformation, like a really big like quantum leap, I will see grasshoppers. And there was this one time, and I will never forget this because it was so weird. We stayed at this cabin in the woods and we were having a bonfire, and then we came back into the house late at night and there was like hundreds of grasshoppers. It was so bizarre. There was like so many grasshoppers. And I remember that moment distinctively because it was just like kind of surreal because the house was like deep in the woods and like I don't even know how they even got into the house. And it was weird because they were everywhere. They were all over the house. They were on the screen doors. They were everywhere. And it was like so in your face. Like you can't deny the fact that there's hundreds of grasshoppers all over the house in the cabin in the woods. And it was just so bizarre because it was right after having like a very like potent, like we had a bonfire that was a releasing ritual. And then after the releasing ritual, we went into the house and saw a million grasshoppers, and it was just so surreal. So it's like that kind of situations can start to happen when you start to pay attention to animal visitors. And it was right after that period of time, we moved into a house. Yeah, it was right around that time where we decided to move across state again, and we moved back into a house. And we were living in like an apartment. So it was a period of time where I was literally moving and I was quantum leaping into a different place of time. And that's how animal visitors truly work. And it's so fascinating when you think about it like that because, you know, there are certain points in nature where I feel like you can easily connect to the spirit world, but allowing yourself to realize like, oh, there's a turkey that crossed my path. What the heck does that mean? It allows you to not just connect to the animal, but you also start to see it as an intuitive guide, an intuitive message. And one of the things that I've learned a lot when it comes to looking at animal totems, we have to think about how does the animal see the world? How do they interact with the world? What are their behaviors like? How do they connect? How do they hunt? How you're going almost into a place where you're embodying the animal. And I know that might sound really weird if you're not familiar with this concept, but if you look at animal medicine as a totem, you're not just connecting to what the animal means, you're connecting to how the animal interacts with the world. Because there's a reason why you're attracting that energy into your world. And I know like this can get really heady if you let it, but if you were to just think about how like when you connect to a squirrel, for example, squirrels can show us a lot about work and play. They're all about working, and then they also play a lot. So you can see how there's a dynamic here of, okay, I need to embody more work and play. And at the same time, you know, you might have a wildly different experience, just like I did with the grasshopper, where all of a sudden you're realizing, oh, I'm getting ready to leap into action. I'm getting ready to leap into something. So the signifier of leaping, like the grasshopper, means that I'm connecting to leaping forward in my own life. Now, we can think about how, like, a rabbit, for example. A rabbit's an interesting symbol because it often comes up when we're kind of overcoming fears, because rabbits are very fearful. They are literally prey. And so because of that, when we connect to if rabbits start showing up rapidly, then maybe it's time to look at some of those fears that are occurring and to start learning how to overcome your own limitations. So you can see this is a beautiful way where you can connect to the spirit world, but not in a particular way where you're just meditating or being mindful or even just, doing tarot cards. And instead, you're finding ways where you can connect to the spirit world in your own daily life. And that's not to say that, every time you see an animal, it's suddenly a spirit guide, but you will know when when you have a weird experience and it suddenly appears. I remember one time we were hiking in the middle of nowhere and there was a bunch of turkeys that crossed our path. That was kind of weird. And they left feathers for us to care, for us to have. And it was just interesting because I looked up what do turkey feathers symbolize, and they symbolize abundance. And that was around the time where we were also getting ready to like transition into our move. And it's interesting how you can see how when you allow yourself to kind of imagine that the world is more of like a dream than you realize, and you allow yourself to create from this symbology. And this symbology has an answer for you of intuitive guidance. This shows you so much more into how you can connect to the spirit world. And you see how maybe you're having deja vu experiences, but then you see that these animals keep showing up. And then you see that that spirit is trying to connect to you because you're attracting it. And you can begin to really kind of like look at these messages as a tool to help you in life. And that's kind of how I've always seen it. It's intuitive guidance that's helping me in life. I don't try to take it like too seriously. It's more like a fun way to play with the universe and play with the spirit world and allow yourself to connect more to your animal visitor. Now, in terms of animal totems, if you're interested in finding your own animal totem, I just recently created a new pathworking meditation called Find Your Animal Totem within our meditation lab. Now, the meditation lab is within the Soul Aligned Life Academy, my monthly membership. This is a monthly membership that talks about all sorts of different topics, such as meditation, energy management. We now have meditation lab. There's divine feminine and divine masculine, learning how to balance your energy. In general, the monthly membership is designed to help you personally understand how to spiritually grow and navigate through spiritual awakening more successfully. It's a membership to help you personally embody and strengthen your intuitive gifts, connect more to the spiritual world, and most importantly, learn how to manifest whatever the fuck you want. And it allows you to really get more clear on who you are as an intuitive spiritual person. So the monthly membership now is releasing Meditation Lab, which connects to finding your animal totem as one of our core meditations. So I just wanted to give a nice little shout out to the Meditation Lab because it's what we're working on, and it will be a new edition that will continue as the months go on, where we're going to be having meditations throughout all the months, and it will be added more and more and more as a nice meditation library within the monthly membership. So when it comes to looking at animal totems, if you have a hard time, I highly recommend spending some time in our meditation lab to help you, because it is a beautiful way to do a path working to uncover your animal totem. Now, in other ways that you can connect to your animal totem, I invite you to bring in more of an observer consciousness. Look at, is there a core animal that keeps coming up? When I connected to my animal totem, the first time it was through a vision, and this vision was very potent, and it was a time where I was afraid, and then this animal came in the vision, and it kind of just centered me and grounded me and made me feel safe. And I knew at that moment that this was my animal totem. And it's interesting how when you see your animal totem for the first time, you will just know. And I think that's the power of it, is you will just suddenly know that this is actually my totem. And I think it's powerful because you can also look at, what is the animal that repeatedly shows up? What is the animal that you are drawn to and you are very much in resonance with? What is the animal that maybe when you grew up, you always connected to, and so forth? There are all different ways to help us find our animal totem, but most importantly, your intuition will always know. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this unique take on animal visitors. I would love to know, what is your own animal totem? Do you know what your own animal totem is? If you do, feel free to share it. And also, if you have any spirit visitor stories, I would love to hear those too. I love hearing animal visit stories. I think they're so interesting and honestly, like surreal sometimes, some of the stories I've heard. So I would love to hear those in the comments. If you like our videos, please hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.